Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the American Business Podcast for the Next Generation. I'm Kevin Deveji, your host. Today, we have Alex Quartero from Emras Consulting with us. Alex, welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, Kevin, and thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very happy to join you.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Well, as a start, Alex, would you please introduce yourself, your company to our audience and to our followers, please?
Sure. My name is Alex Quartero, and I'm the sole proprietor of Emras Consulting. I've set up my company back, it's exactly 10 years ago after I retired from a very lengthy career at a major aerospace company. And actually, I was too bored to be retired. So I thought of doing something, and that's why I opened up this consulting company. And the purpose of my company is to help small to medium-sized companies get certified, primarily with ISO 9001, which requires the company to have a quality management system. And also, what I do is, in addition to helping the companies get certified, you have to maintain the certification. So that means that every year there's a surveillance audit to make sure that the company maintains their quality management system consistent with ISO 9001. So it also requires for the companies the company have an internal audit, which I do if they desire that. So every year I have to perform an internal audit prior to the audit by the registrar. Registrar is the company that performs the certification. So I'm very small. I operate basically from word of mouth. I don't have a website because I want to still keep it small and manageable, and so I can enjoy doing the work.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, one of the things that I've been always wondering is, how did you start your career?
Well, that's a long story, but I'll make it short. My educational background is electrical engineering. So I started to work, and I got to say, most of my career was in avionics. In other words, developing equipment for both the commercial and military aviation customers. So initially, I was doing electrical engineering. Then the microprocessors showed up. So I became very interested in developing the hardware with embedded microprocessors and embedded software. And as I progressed in my career, I became a project manager. And then I was actually managing programs in the last, maybe 15 years of my career. So at a certain point, I decided to retire. And that's how I started my consulting business.
I understand. Well, speaking of consulting, what are the most exciting and challenging parts of your job?
Well, obviously, going from a corporate environment to a sole proprietorship environment is a big difference. And I had to obviously, in the early days of forming Emras Consulting, I had to get to make sure that people were aware of my existence. A lot of networking. I joined a lot of different organizations and did networking, and it took many years for people to find out about my capabilities and what I can do. Then it started to work out. And then, of course, COVID came around, and that really almost got to the point where I was thinking of shutting down my business. But thank God COVID was over and business picked up. So, now I'm very busy. And obviously, it's a challenge to help an organization to become certified because there are a lot of requirements, primarily in the areas of quality management that they have to satisfy. And sometimes it's really changing the mindset of the company. They may have certain aspects of it already established, but uh, they are certainly don't meet all of the ISO requirements to be certified, and that's what it takes. It's working with their management and their senior people, and actually with the workers, and convince them that following what the ISO requirements are will actually help their organization. So it's a challenge, and it's also very rewarding to see them get certified. Um, so it's a good challenge, but I enjoy that effort, doing that effort very much.
Great. Thank you very much for this. Well, I like to shift it towards quality management a little bit. So when we look at ISO 9001 or for the aerospace AS9100, for our audience and to keep the podcast as educational as possible, why are they important? And why should companies, especially manufacturers and businesses, comply with ISO 9001, or if they're in aerospace industry, should comply with AS9100?
Okay, that's a good question. Um, Sometimes companies are not aware what benefits it is to be certified to some ISO standard. Now, let's talk about AS9100. Now, AS9100 is the standard that supports all aerospace and space applications. So if your organization in any way, you can be a supplier, maybe a supplier to a supplier to a supplier, no matter how many levels you are under the actual prime, uh, if you were to supply components or parts to the product that will eventually be installed in the aircraft, you have to be AS9100 certified. Otherwise, you would never be able to sell any of your products to through other distributors to the prime. So the advantage of being AS9100 is that number one, it requires you to meet certain requirements for your quality management system, and that includes. And certainly AS9100 is more stringent than ISO 9000, even though all of the elements of the ISO 9001 is included in the AS9100. But there are certain provisions, such as dealing with obsolete parts, certainly testing. Testing is much more critical in AS9100. Well, obviously, because your product eventually is going to wind up in an aircraft, and obviously, you want to make sure that the final product obviously has no, let's say, discrepancies that would cause to some injuries occurring during the flight. So that's why AS9100 is a very demanding standard in the area of quality management. Now, if you're not involved in the aerospace business, certainly ISO 9001 is a subset of the AS9100. It does still require you to comply with all of the ISO quality management standards. Uh, and again, here, as you realize, to become ISO certified, there's a cost involved because you have to invite what is called a registrar. So that's the organization that provides the certification. But every year you have to be recertified, going through a surveillance audit. So that's involves some cost, obviously. But if you're required, whether because management decided that the organization will be ISO certified, or because maybe your customer may require you to be ISO certified to be able to provide some component to their system. Either case, if the decision is made to be ISO certified, then you obviously have to maintain that system and be audited on a yearly basis. Now, the other point I want to mention is that if, let's say, you don't really need to have a certification, but you want to improve your quality management system, you can also adopt all of the, let's say, the standards that ISO 9000 requires, but only be ISO compliant. So this means that you follow the ISO standards, but you're not formally certified. So the advantage of this is that you improve your quality management system. So that should certainly your company should become more attractive, more efficient. Uh, and then if you're ISO compliant, then it's very easy. If at some point you need to become ISO certified, then you can then call the registrar and go through the certification process. So I think either way, whether you're either ISO compliant or certified, it will definitely make your organization much more efficient and hopefully much more productive.
I have actually exciting questions about AI, but before I go to the AI part of the world, I have one more question about quality management. Well, quality means what the customer needs and how we conform with it fundamentally. So when we look at quality management systems, you've been working with, you have decades of experience, so that's really exciting. Also, you are working with many different manufacturers because of the nature of your business. You are working with the manufacturers. So based on your professional um, your observation and what you have been seeing in the marketplace, what are the best practices that you have been seeing in the market in terms of quality management?
Well, there's a lot of aspects to quality management. I would say maybe the most important one is continuous improvement. And that's the basis for all ISOs. And what it means is that if even if you have a very effective and efficient quality management system, you always have to look at, well, what can I improve? So sometimes it's very difficult to decide, well, what can you improve? But your decision should be based on the data that you're collecting as part of the quality management system. So then it's like a low-hanging fruit. You're saying, well, I think there's many areas where I can improve, but let me tackle, let's say, one area where I think I can get the most benefit initially. So, but obviously, if you look at, the bottom line, I mean, why have a quality management system? It's really to support your customer, because one thing that you need to understand is that to be successful in your business, your customer must be satisfied. Obviously, you cannot deliver 100% of the time a product that has no faults or problems. Sometime, even though before delivery, you should perform enough testing and verification that the product does meet all of the customer requirements. But it happens, we're humans, that certain products may be defective when it reaches the customer, and there the whole issue to resolve that is to work with the customer, uh, identify what the reason of the failure, and then make the appropriate repair, and also keep the customer informed as to what's going on, what happened. Either send them another product, or whatever the decision is made. But that's the most important thing is to maintain customer satisfaction, because that kind of spreads. If your company XYZ delivers quality product and on time, believe me, word passes around, and then you will automatically get new business. So and so that is really supported, all of that, by the quality management system that you have established in your organization, and by continuously improving it, you become more and more efficient in your internal process, and your customer satisfaction does increases. So I think that's really the most important aspect of quality management.
Yes, it's very important. Well, let's talk about AI a little bit. These type of questions we are receiving from our audience from time to time, and this is one of them that they asked me to ask you. So AI is here, and we as businesses started to implement AI in different forms, as well as in our daily life. Also, that we are experiencing and utilizing it. I like to actually learn about your view. What do you think about AI from quality management point of view moving forward?
Oh, Kevin, that's a loaded question.
Yes, a lot to unpack here.
Yes, because yes, I'm very interested in AI, and of course, where it will take us 5, 10 years from now, I really can't predict right now. I'm kind of looking more in the near term. But the way I look at, it's maybe not totally, I'm not totally answering your question about AI, but what I'm seeing is that, um, as far as maintaining a quality management system, obviously at this point in time, you cannot have robots doing that. You obviously still have humans, but
Mhm.
humans can have some tools that can help them deal with, let's say, quality management. And I have to tell you, quality management, to maintain the whole process and meet ISO certification, requires you to maintain and analyze a lot of data that the QMS generates. Now, one way is obviously the traditional ways to maintain and look at the data manually. You can store it in file cabinets. Some of the data you can store electronically. But the way I see it, where now the improvement is proceeding, even though it may not fall exactly under AI, is to have a software tool, a quality management software tool. For example, American Workflows has a quality management American software that is specifically tailored to maintaining the QMS system to meet ISO certification. So, uh, such a tool really helps you because, first of all of the information data that you need is located in one place. It could be either a local server or remote server, but all the data required for ISO is available under this tool. So, first of all, it helps all of the employees because they know where the data is. They don't have to look for it and find it. And even the more important thing is that that tool helps in performing the audits, in conducting the audits, because when the auditor comes in, he then only has to look in one place, namely under look at the data stored under this quality management tool. So in fact, now such tools allow a lot of the audits to be performed virtually. And in some cases, yes, because if the auditor has to look at exactly how your, let's say, machining works, any issues related to that, he may have to sometimes be on site. But a lot of the audits now can be performed virtually. So I know maybe I didn't quite answer your question, but I think it's a first step. It's only a first step in applying what I call, in quotes, AI in dealing with maintaining quality management system. Now, in the future, I really don't know. I can't really predict because, sometimes AI does magic, and you just are surprised as to what steps can be taken to make these improvements.
I like to shift it towards next generation a little bit. Well, one of our missions is to generate educational content for the next generation business professionals and leaders and workforce. In this view, I like to learn about your take. What is your take on internship programs and apprenticeship programs for next generation to prepare themselves for their career path?
That's a very good point that you're making, because in my experience, what I find is that students may not get enough experience in dealing in the real world while they're still students. Because getting an education is obviously very important, but also while you're getting an education is to interact with the real world and how things are done and happening in the real world. And I believe that in Europe, they have apprenticeship as part of your college education. So you're forced to work in your specialty because that will give you a better understanding of what it is. I believe that there is now a push in the States here to do that. Okay. And there are a lot of programs, summer programs, where students can work in some companies and get actual experience. I think it's not totally required, but I think that it's important to have, like I call, hands-on experience, because going through college is very important because you get the theoretical aspects of what hopefully will be your career, but then applying that is a different completely different thing. It's like, for example, if you were going to, you want to become a pilot, well, obviously you have to go through some education and know what flying is all about, but then you can't go from classes into an airplane and fly an airplane. You have to at least go through a simulator where you actually train to fly an aircraft. Well, doing engineering is really similar to that. Because sometimes you don't know exactly what's needed on the job, and students graduate with a very good degree from top level schools, and yet they may not be happy doing the work, doing the engineering work, and all the challenges you have with design and development. So that's why I think it's important, because the most important thing is you have to like what you're doing. Okay, if you get a job, if you get a good salary, but you hate your job, then you'll really never succeed.
Yes, yes, very important, very important. Well, in your first of all, you have decades of professional experience. I mean, you are very modest, which one of your virtues that I really love. But I'm always curious about it. So, do you have any role models?
Well, Yes, because I'm always impressed with successful people, because they really started from nothing, and then they became really build up really tremendous organizations. And I can name a few, certainly like Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos. Now, maybe on a personality wise, maybe they're not the most pleasant people. Okay. But what they've accomplished is unbelievable because all of them started from scratch. Yes, you can say a lot of it is luck where they were at the right place at the right time. But I think it's also their skills that they had, the talent that they had to face all the adversities in developing an organization. And I'm always curious to see, how they achieved their positions, and how did they grow their businesses, because most of the businesses that start and they have very smart people starting, they fail at some point. They reach a certain level and something is going wrong, and they're going bankrupt. But these certainly, and there are more. I mean, I'm just mentioning a few. I think and I'm sure they had their ups and downs. I'm not saying that everything went easily and perfectly well, but I'm looking at the result, and I think that's extremely impressive what they've accomplished.
Yes. Well, we are coming to the end of our podcast, but before we end it, I like to ask you, do you have any final career advice for the next generation workforce and next generation business leaders and professionals?
Yes, I think I'm really, you can see I'm from the old school. Uh, and obviously, when I was in college and so on, they just started to get, well, there was no cell phones. In fact, I remember somebody at work got their first calculator, electronic calculator, and that I think he bought it at that time for $500, and everybody was like, playing with it like it's, something incredible. But now, of course, people that are going through school and they're growing up, they have all those tools available to them. Now, before you even go to kindergarten, you're playing with a cell phone and so on. And I think it's good. I have nothing nothing against that, but I still think that maybe there's too much emphasis made on using the tools like the cell phone, computer, and so on. What's I think still important is you have to interact with people, and as I mentioned, the successful business people, they interact. They're able to sell their ideas, to sell their product, and you can't do that using your computer or your cell phone. You have to interact with people. So I think that's very important. Second thing I think is you have to take what I call calculated risks. Okay, if you're not willing to take risks, then that's fine. I mean, you will do well, but you will never grow because at some point you have to take some risks. Sometimes they're good risks, sometimes it doesn't work out. But unless you do take risks, you'll never really uh, make your business, grow rapidly and successfully. Also, you have to persevere in achieving your goals. You have to set your goals and go after them. Uh, Maybe sometimes you set too many goals. That makes it difficult. But maybe you have to set some near-term goals and then really go and try to achieve them. Once you achieve them, then you set other goals and so on. Okay. And obviously, the last point, which I kind of already alluded to, is to be able to interface with people. People is very important, whether it's you're managing a business or you try to sell some innovative product. You have to interact with people. So you have to have confidence in yourself that you can not be, afraid of confronting an audience and people, and that you can, and like I said, that's probably one of the most important things for successful growth of whatever your goals are.
Alex, thank you very much for sharing your wisdom, your insights. It was actually very educational for all of us. And thank you for spending time with us this afternoon in your busy schedule.
Well, yeah, and thank you again for inviting me. I thought you asked the very good and pointed questions, which hopefully, the younger generation or even the students would listen to that and maybe, think, maybe give them some ideas of help them to develop their, potential. So again, thank you for this very good interview.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Alex.
Okay, great. Bye-bye.
Thank you. To our audience and to our followers, thank you very much for watching us. Every Friday at the American Business Podcast, we have an expert. And as we always say, knowledge is power, and let's learn from experts. Next Friday, we're going to have 4 episodes back to back. So there's going to be a lot of knowledge, a lot of insights, a lot of wisdom to share with you. And looking forward to seeing you next Friday in our episodes. Thank you very much and have a nice weekend.